Words of Sri Aurobindo from the book The Mother, Part 2, Letters on the Mother by Our Lord, Chapter 9, The Mother and the Working of the Ashram, page 300. Sri Aurobindo says, "Quite so. None need be jealous of anything or anybody, since each one has his own point of contact with the Divine Mother, which nobody else has apart from what all have." Date 4th Jan 1934. Next topic: wrong ideas about the mother's smile and touch at pranam. Sri Aurobindo says the mother deals with each one in a different way according to their need and their nature, not according to any fixed mental rule. It would be absurd for her to do the same thing with everybody, as if all were machines which had to be touched and handled in the same way. It does not at all mean that she has more affection for one than for another, or those she touches in a particular way are better sadhaks or less so. The sadhaks think in that way because they are full of ignorance and ego. Instead of thinking whether the mother favors one more or the other less, comparing and watching what she does, they ought to be concerned at pranam with their own spiritual reception of her influence. Pranam is for that, and not for these other things which have nothing to do with sadhana. Jealousy and envy are things common to human nature because they are the very things that a sadhak ought to throw out of himself. Otherwise, why is he a sadhak at all? He is supposed to be here for seeking the divine, but in the seeking for the divine, jealousy, envy, anger, etc. have no place. They are moments of the ego and can only create obstacles to the union with the divine. It is much better to remember that one is seeking for the divine and make that the whole governing idea and aim of the life. It is that which pleases the mother more than anything else. These jealousies and envies and competitions for her favor can only displease and distress her. Date 31st October 1935. Next question. At pranam ceremony, I am not able to fathom the mystery of the mother's working, what she gives and how I receive it. What is the inner meaning of her touch on my head or her look into my eyes? For this, Sri Aurobindo says, you have to develop the inner intuitive response first. That is, to think and perceive less with the mind and more with the inner consciousness. Most people do everything with the mind, and how can the mind know? The mind depends on the senses for its knowledge. Date 10th July 1936. Next question. During pranam, what does the mother want to show us by her special expression? Does it express her liking or disliking any action of the persons concerned? For this, Sri Aurobindo says, she wants to show you nothing. It has nothing to do with the doings or misdoings of the sadhaks. Pranam is not intended for watching the mother's expression or what she does with this one or that one, or in what way she smiles, or how much of her hand she blesses. The sadhak's preoccupation with these things is childish and for the most part full of mistaken inferences, imaginations, often curiosity, desire for gossip, criticism, etc. Such a state of mind is a hindrance, not a help to sadhana. The proper attitude is one of self dedication and simple and straightforward receptivity to what the mother wishes to give, an undisturbed and undisturbing openness to her working in the being. Understand once for all that the mother is not using the pranam to show her pleasure and displeasure. It is not meant for that purpose. The only circumstance under which the mother's attitude at pranam is likely to be influenced by the actions of the sadhak is when there is some great betrayal or violent breach of the main rules of spiritual life, or when the sadhak has become positively hostile to the mother and the yoga. But then it is not a special show of displeasure at pranam, but a withdrawal of the gift of grace, which is quite a different matter. Many of the sadhaks are in the habit of thinking the mother is displeased, not smiling at them, angry when it is quite otherwise. This usually happens when their own consciousness is not at peace, or when they are thinking or conscious of false or wrong moments or wrong acts that they may have done. The idea that mother is angry is an imagination. If there is anything not as usual, it is in the sadhak himself and not in the mother. The mother's force can come down quite nicely and gently. There is no need of palpitations, giddiness, or nausea for that. The mother was not at all angry with you. I suppose you expected to her to be angry and see like that? All the sadhaks do that, and I have not yet been able to cure them of this, seeing their own imaginations in the mother's face or manner. Question. We depend very much on finding in the mother's ways a manifestation of her love for us. We feel we can progress when we get it. For this, Sri Aurobindo says, this demand for physical manifestation of love must go. It is a dangerous stumbling block on the way of sadhana. A progress made by indulgence of this demand is an insecure progress which may at any moment be thrown down by the same force that produced it. Date 8th October 1935. Question. I have heard that many sadhikas love the mother so much that they are ready to die for her. If there is no physical expression of the mother's love for them, they can't love her. And some go so far as to revolt, weep, or fast. For this, Sri Aurobindo says, it is self-love that makes them do that. It is just the same kind of vital love that people have outside, loving someone for one's own sake, not for the sake of the beloved divine. What is the use of that in the sadhana here? It can only be an obstacle. Date 15th October 1935. It is not the mind but the lower vital that gets disturbed or troubled after pranam. All the rest comes in as suggestions because the gate has been opened to the vital forces or the asuric forces to be troubled. These are certain stock tricks of the adverse forces to disturb the sadhana, and one of them is this notion in the lower vital of not having been perfectly blessed at pranam, or not having got a smile, or not the proper kind of smile, or of the mother's face being serious and severe. Whoever lets in that feeling, immediately suggestions of revolt, depression, dissatisfaction pour in into his mind. The only thing to be done for that is to cast off patiently all acceptance of this feeling, knowing that it is a drop of poison from the adversary. Date 28th July 1936.